Hello fellow hunters, this is Arizmendi, bringing you another Monster Hunter World video. Have you ever looked in your field guide at elemental weaknesses and wondered what 3-star versus 2-star or 1-star weakness means in actual numbers? That's what I'm here to answer today. I'll go over how I set up the test, then look at 4 separate monster hunts and the damage done to each, in order to better understand why it's worth exploiting elemental weaknesses. Let's get started. For this test, I chose water as the element. I won't be covering every element, but you can safely assume the others follow a similar pattern. Here you can see the equipment setup that I used. On every hunt, I ate for defense, so as to keep my damage consistent and only from equipment and skills. I ran a few damage skills to make the hunts a bit faster, but still keeping damage output consistent. That's equipment covered. Now let me review the test setup and the monsters I chose. My test subjects for this were Puke, Rathalos, Yaku, and Kodachi. Each of these monsters represents a single weakness level to water, ranging from no weakness from Puke to maximum weakness from Toby. I chose these 4 because they all have a body point that has a 3-star weakness to ranged weapons, and I focused my attacks on that point. I also stuck primarily to the standard R2 attack chain to give a clear view of damage for each bow charge level. This provides a baseline damage from Puke and lets us see the increase gained from each additional star rating of weakness. Puke, the baseline. Since he is immune to water, this is just the raw damage of the bow. Using his head as the target, the numbers I found are 8, 10, 14, and 16. With that established, let's move on to the rest. Rathalos. At 1-star weakness, you'd expect a bit more damage here, and you'd be correct. The numbers I found are 11, 14, 16, and 18, which is a nice jump in overall damage. It's notable that the biggest boost is on the first 2 shots, with charge 3 and 4 only gaining 2 damage over the baseline. Not bad, but let's see how the others fare. Yaku. This one turned out weird. I may need to test it again. At 2-star weakness, you'd expect an increase over Rathalos, but that isn't what I found. Instead, I got numbers nearly identical to Rathalos, at 11, 13, 15, and 17. I was so shocked by this one that I redid the test 3 times, and got the same numbers each time. Considering both monsters are 3-star weak to range and the head, the only conclusion I can reach is there's something else at play here. Let's ignore that weirdness and move on to the final test subject. Kodachi. Maximum weakness to water at 3-star, so you'd expect a big increase over the others, especially Puke. The results do not disappoint. The numbers I found were 14, 19, 22, and 25. Here it's the opposite of the 1 to 2-star change. Most of the increase is in the 3rd and 4th charge levels. It's a big increase though, about 37% over a 1-star weakness and a whopping 57% over immunity. So what can be concluded from this? Elemental damage is significant and not to be ignored. I suspected this to be the case, given that there's a lot more elemental representation in World than in previous Monster Hunter games, and the numbers prove it out. If you were wondering whether it's worth having a weapon of each element, hopefully this explains why it is. You get much higher damage, plus all the bonuses that come from that in more staggers, easier breaking of parts, more trips, and more tail cuts. That's it for now. If you enjoyed this or found it helpful, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Happy hunting!